ASMR talk show, the show that feels good to hear. ASMR, it's a series of videos, anecdotal phenomenon. People hear soft talking, they get a little tingle at the front of their head. This is the ASMR talk show. You know, we sit around, have conversations, meet cool people, but we do it all in relaxing ASMR voices. So I'm not sure when this is going to air, but it's something we can all relate to. Recently, the time changed for daylight savings time. We sprung forward, and even it doesn't matter if we're springing forward, falling back. It seems like this is one of these things, like airplane food. Everyone likes to talk about it. Everyone likes to complain about it. But from my perspective, I'm like, nah, the time change is cool, just like I like airline food too, actually. But, you know, oh, you're gonna lose an hour of sleep. Why do they do it? It's so dumb. But my feeling is, if just anything to break up the monotony of the year. Oh, everything's gonna start an hour earlier from now on. And then in a few more months, it'll all be crazy again. And it's just, I don't know, I think it's more fun. Really what they should do is, like every couple weeks randomly, they should just, you know, reset the clocks. Everyone has to adjust. I don't know, I think people would scramble. And if I could, you know, I can tell you, all the people who complain about it, they're just looking for something to talk about. They would have nothing to talk about if it weren't for the time change. So before we go and get rid of the time change, I know there's a movement to do that, think about how we enjoy the extra hour of daylight and just, you know, doing something kind of different. Folks, my guest tonight is an author, activist, and former world record holder. Please welcome Matty Daley.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. So you were tweeting with Seth Rogen recently?
Yeah, I tweeted out Seth Rogen's at South by Southwest promoting a bunch of new movies, and he had tweeted something out. Well, he had done an interview talking about his new movie Long Shot and how his movies work better in a theater audience because you get that communal experience.
That means the movie might not be that good. Anyway, go on.
Well,
I know he's your bud.
well, I tweeted out that I agree with him that, like, yeah, because we have this big debate going on right now. Is, do I go to the movie theater or do I stay home and watch it on Netflix, right? And I remember seeing Superbad when I was 17 years old,
Yeah.
the opening weekend it came out. It was a packed movie theater, young crowd, and I never laughed so hard in my life. I like fell out of the chair laughing. And so I agree with him, yeah. And I posted it, and Seth Rogen was like, I like that.
It always feels so good when a celebrity likes your thing.
Yeah, especially when it's Seth Rogen.
Yeah, he's cool. It would actually probably feel best like you got retweeted by like a right wing or like a, you know, like one of these things, like by accident they took your thing. That would feel bad if they liked it. You know what I mean?
No,
I guess it works the other way.
That hasn't happened to me yet.
Okay, yeah.
But that would be kind of funny though, if
Yeah.
like someone on the far right,
Yeah.
like something.
Yeah, you know, they'll take stuff. They'll take like memes and they'll make them evil and stuff.
Yeah,
If
could
they
you imagine
accidentally.
if, like Donald Trump or was
Yeah,
trying to
InfoWar, you know, some BS like that.
spin something I was saying against transgender people or something. Yeah.
So you are a former world record holder
Yes. So
for, I'm sorry that your record was broken. We'll get to that. But for the world's longest kiss.
for the longest continuous kiss.
Oh, so what was?
Because you can break down the longest kiss into other categories too in the world records books. There's also the world's longest on-screen kiss, on camera, like without breaking the shot at all. You know, so there are other categories for it. But the one for the endurance one is the longest continuous kiss. And that was my friend Bobby Conciello and I broke it back in 2010. I can't believe it was almost 9 years ago now.
So when I was reading about this, it said, oh yeah, these friends are doing it, these friends. You guys really were just friends?
Yeah, he had a boyfriend at the time.
What did the boyfriend think of this?
Well, Bobby had told me that he told his boyfriend everything that was going on, and then he was cool with it. I came to find out later he was a little less cool with it, but he ended up being very supportive of us doing it because it wasn't like a romantic thing.
Right.
It was a physical endurance challenge, and really, at the end of it, it was really gross too.
But you guys are linked together now forever because of this.
A little
in a way.
yeah.
And, it's at least if not in the record books, like you will remember doing this for
In
the
a
rest of your
proud
life.
way, right?
Yeah.
This is like,
But then the boyfriend might be a little jealous.
well, they've been together still
So
for.
they're still together.
Yeah,
Interesting.
going on 10 years now, more than that even. They were together for more than a year or 2 years even before the kiss, and yeah, they've been together ever since then. Yeah.
So how did this all come about?
Well, Bobby and I were watching MTV doing homework. We were in my room with like the door open. I lived in a townhouse on campus, and it was just like a place where like we would hang out with a bunch of different people coming in and out of the townhouse and do our homework. And we were taking a break. MTV was on. I think it was either Rob and Big or Rob's Fantasy Factory. It was one of the Rob shows.
Yeah.
And he had broken a world record for the biggest skateboard ever constructed.
Yeah, I remember that.
And like he paid a bunch of people to do this and put his name on it and took that record away from a bunch of college students who had pooled their resources together and broken this record previously to build the skateboard. And we were like, that's not cool, Rob. We were like, we should do something to prove that college kids can break world records and they can mean something too. And someone like Rob Deirdre can't just come take that away from you. And so 10 minutes later, I had this idea. I was like, I wonder if two guys or two people of the same sex had ever attempted to break the world record for the longest kiss before. I had remember hearing about it, and this being a thing. So I looked it up, and no one of the same sex had ever attempted to do that before. And I was
So
like,
Kiss was your first choice of record?
so it was just
Or did you
something that was like a way to draw attention to LGBTQ culture, and there's no way to talk about that without introducing. I know, I'm getting
The way to talk about it is softly.
softly,
Yeah.
right, right. And well, that's the point too, is because the kiss would be quiet, right? It would be a way of raising our voices without doing that at all, and we could show sexuality, something that people constantly, even being on a liberal college campus, we still face a lot of backlash from fraternity guys or, just...
Well, and this was 10 years ago, too.
This was 10 years ago,
So,
too, but I also,
a little bit more conservative.
I identify as transgender now since this has all happened, but even still then, I have not seen the world move forward as much as you think it would in terms of a lot of mindset. Maybe socially we have a bit, but I think people are still getting there. But back to something about...
How you thought of to do a kiss.
Right, and so we thought that this would be a great idea because it draws attention to, yes, a sex aspect of LGBT culture, TQ culture, without it being anything beyond PG. And something that you would have to look at and see for a long period of time. And yeah, we would be challenging ourselves to do it. But that was important for us, for people to just see it, that like seeing two guys kiss, the world was not going to blow up or set on fire, and if there was some Judeo-Christian God that was intent on smiting us, 32 and a half hours is a long time to make the decision to throw a lightning bolt down.
Right.
And no one did. So.
And a lot of people don't realize that a Guinness World Record is not simply doing something the most or the longest or whatever.
Right.
There are other criteria that the Guinness people have.
So there are things we didn't even think of that we had to consider going into this. And since you had to stand the whole time, that was one of the rules. You weren't allowed to sit, and there were no breaks, so you couldn't be like, oh, we're going to take a 30-second break and then go back at it for 6 hours. There were no breaks.
Has to be in a public place.
Has to be in a public place.
Has to get media coverage.
It has to have media coverage. You have to have witnesses. You have to have a timekeeper who is like qualified to keep time. So one of our witnesses was a former Marine. They had been in the Marine and before, and so that was one of the things that Guinness had a list of jobs that qualified you to be a timekeeper and military. people in public office or teachers, those individuals qualified. And we had other individuals that were there to help, like as witness signatures, but then we also took witness signatures from all of the students and faculty and visitors that came and saw. So thousands of people signed and said they saw us. And then, yeah, you also had to have footage covering it on top of other media footage, certifying that it happened. You weren't allowed to wear diapers or nappies or anything. So because you can't leave the public space to go to the bathroom, you just have to go to the bathroom on yourself.
So some of these rules seem logical, like, oh, they're trying to promote their book and their beer, so they want it in the media, or you need someone you can trust to keep time. But the no diaper thing seems kind of mean.
It just sounds mean to me, yes. Now that you bring it up, like 9 years later, thinking about this in hindsight, why would you want someone to like defecate on themselves?
Did you defecate on yourself or just pee?
So no, Bobby and I, of course, you know, months of research and planning, realized we're not going to want to have to poop in the middle of this.
Yeah.
So we took the time to make sure that our diet was strictly liquid 48 hours ahead of time, and we were cleared out of any solids. So that way, if the moment came that we had to use the bathroom, it would just be number one.
And you had to drink through a straw while you were kissing?
Yeah, so they allow you to...
So is it, as long as your like faces are touching each other, does that count as the kiss?
Yeah, so there's like footage of us with like a straw like poking through the sides of our mouths, almost like a fish hook. And we're like, it's hard because like you're trying to suck through a straw while you're also sucking on another person's face.
And was this, you weren't making out, right? It was more just you had your faces against each other.
Our tongues never even touched in 32.5 hours, yeah. It was just our lips were attached. And when your lips are attached that long, it generates so much heat too.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, after a while.
The breaths must start smelling.
It wasn't even that. After a while, it's just a taste of staleness, and your lips are so dry that doesn't even bother you. But it's just like the heat it generates. It's like being in a sauna. Oh my God. Yeah.
Did you practice?
We practiced for about 12 hours. And we decided, because we realized we were only going to really be able to do this one time physically, so we practiced a couple weeks ahead of time for 12 hours and decided if we could get through 12 hours with an audience there to cheer us on and our team there to actually help us take care of things and not like us in a dorm room practicing, we could handle it. So we got through 12 hours and we said, all right, we can do this. And then Bobby took things one step further than I did prior and the week beforehand. He actually stayed awake for 2 full days on his feet without sitting down. So I give Bobby a smidge of extra credit in preparation with that. He was insistent upon that. I was insistent upon conserving energy. But yeah.
But there was no, once you got rolling, there was no thought that you weren't going to be able to do it.
There were times where it was like so hot and exhausting that I thought if we stop now, people aren't going to be upset with us. We proved our point. But then there was certainly a threshold moment that happened. It came in the middle of the night when we had gotten hate crime done, and it was after all the drunk
TP, the two of you sitting there?
So yeah, we're sitting in this little tent in what was called Alumni Grove on the College of New Jersey campus, which sits between the library and the main dining hall. And so in the middle of the night, people were walking back from campus parties from the other side of campus, crossing by. And after all that had died down, within the next hour, some guys drove by on bicycles yelling faggots and saying bad, slurs. Some people in the dorm part of the building above the dining hall put up signs that are like, gays are bad.
Is that really what it said?
Yeah.
Gays are bad?
Gays are bad.
That's not even very creative.
It's not even creative, yeah. And at first they were arguing that it was free speech, that they were allowed to keep it up. But we have, on the college campus, we have like a safe space rule right now. So if they had written like, the N-word are bad, you know, that would have been precedent to say you can't do that. And so somebody else in the administration stood up for us and said, no, you came here and you agreed to these campus rules, and your campus rules say you're going to treat everyone with respect, so you have to take that sign down. So after that happened, and after these guys came by on bicycles and the police came and apprehended them and gave them the choice to apologize to us, or...
Did they have to apologize while you were kissing?
Yeah, so it was apologize to us and to our internet audience. At this point in time, we had amassed thousands of viewers online. And this only made it like better for us with our online viewership.
Yeah.
But, and so the
So
main
they were just
perpetrator apologized.
We're sorry,
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so embarrassing.
It's in a documentary film, actually.
Right,
yeah.
and they did a documentary. When did
Yeah.
that all?
So
At what point in this?
So that came about actually very quickly into the process. We had not planned on like filming it that way, just the live stream. And only like 2 weeks beforehand, this guy who was in my graduating class level, but at Ramapo College, had said he read about it in a local paper by him, which I don't know because I never saw that paper, but and he thought it would be a cool short film for his senior thesis project. And what turned into started as a short film, amassed enough footage to create a 45-minute movie that he submitted to about a dozen festivals it got into. It won an award in Chicago, and I got to see it on the big screen with Bobby in New York City and in Philadelphia. And yeah, that was one of the moments that ended up in the movie, was this kid apologizing to us on camera. And it's just like you said, like, yeah, my name is Andrew.
This kid's probably
I'm
18 or
sorry.
something, right? You
Yeah,
probably
he
saw
was, I think he was in Bobby's grade.
this- 18, well, if he's not 18 or 19, if he's in a dorm.
Yeah,
he's
so
already that
Bobby
old.
was two
Oh, what a
grades
loser.
lower than me. Yeah, Bobby was a sophomore when I was a senior. And so this kid was also a sophomore, I remember. And yeah, it's just like, I don't know, dude, what are you doing?
And you guys are just kissing this whole time.
We're just standing there, lips touching, not moving,
This was,
one spot.
what was the previous record?
It was 32 hours and 7 or 9 minutes. We had beat it by
So you just
20,
barely-
by like a little over 20 minutes. We were going for 33 hours. So you might read reports that say we broke it at 33 hours because that was our intention. But at 32 and a half hours, I was just,
We got this.
I thought to
Like,
myself that if I stand up for another half hour, I'm gonna die. Literally, it felt like I was going to die. But like I said, after all the hate crime incidents had happened, it was just like, it exploded. It was beyond us at that point. It was like, I have to do this for the people that saw that happen, right? And I don't want them to think that, not that they would see us as failures, but you know, I want them to think that we are capable of doing this.
Well, you said you were going to do
Yeah.
it.
Right.
You'd be letting everyone down.
Right. Yeah.
Gay or not, you know, let's
Right.
be. Everyone would be bummed if you didn't break the record.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone,
That too.
everyone was counting on you.
Right. And I would have been bummed with
Yeah.
myself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You wasted.
But it was at
31
that
hours.
But it was like that moment that was like the wake up call moment that was like, yeah, we're gonna do this. Like the sun's gonna come up in the morning and a whole nother day is gonna go by, and when the sun goes back down, we're gonna have broken a world record. And we did.
And how long did you hold the record before? Because now a Thai couple has it, right?
So we never got to authenticate it with Guinness because it's a long process going after that. And the Thai couple broke it quite shortly after us in February of the following year. We broke it in September. And
Oh, so you barely had.
so we barely held on to it. And at first it was a heterosexual couple that had broken it. And we still argue to this day whether or
Well, it's not
not
as
they
gay,
follow
Guinness.
Guinness rules because they had someone escort them to the bathroom. It was for a jewelry store competition, and they won a $50,000 diamond ring. No one gave me a diamond ring.
And they did theirs like 50-something hours, right?
Yeah.
But that was one where you have to like keep your hand on a car, probably, right? Where it's like multiple people are attempting.
Yeah, there were, I think, like a dozen or so couples that were attempting to break it. So yeah, but again, they got a prize out of it.
Yeah.
So they had, if someone was giving me a $50,000 diamond ring, I think I might have held on another
You
12
might
hours.
still be kissing Bobby right now.
It might be 9 years longest continuous kiss, yeah.
But this was sort of your, you say this was like a pivotal point in your career, your professional development. Did this give you a flavor for activism and
For me, it was a wake-up call
getting in front of people and
that LGBTQ people can tell incredible stories, and not just like we need to be equal. We had broken this world record before marriage equality happened, before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, and it's just, and those things still didn't happen for another few years after the kiss had taken place. I've had people tell me, you know, that are adults now, tell me that when they were teenagers, I was the first same-sex kiss they had ever seen. And this blows my mind, you know, because my first same-sex kiss was something I saw on like a movie or on Will and Grace, and you know, in the turn of the 90s, probably something like that. I don't remember what it was, but I remember that being a thing in the 90s, and I've seen a number of LGBTQ indie films, and it was just like doing this, and now, especially in the years that have followed, hearing kids tell me this, it's like, maybe there's another world record that, you know, queer people can queer out there, that can help people imagine us doing amazing things. You know, look at Caitlyn Jenner. You know, all these people that are disappointed that their old Olympic hero turned out to be a woman. Why are you?
Nobody liked Bruce Jenner.
I mean, I didn't grow up in that era.
But I don't think anybody, like, nobody really misses Bruce, I don't think.
But like,
everyone likes Caitlyn better.
But like, as a trans person, I think it's really cool that like there's someone trans that you think about who competed in the Olympics and can do incredible things. So instead of thinking about it in that respect, we're thinking about it as like, oh, you know, Bruce became Caitlyn, you know, and that's how I hope we can change that mindset. And, you know, in 20 years, we'll look back and think, wow, Caitlyn Jenner was an Olympian. You know, who cares that she was, you know, Bruce when it had happened? They'll think that Caitlyn was an Olympian. You know, and I hope that when people think about me, they'll think, Matty had courage to break a world record that was really physically demanding. And that, yes, it made us think about same-sex relationships and attraction and kissing, but what was going on in that moment for Matty and Bobby was just something physically very demanding.
And I think it goes to show, you know, gay, straight, bi, trans, whatever, who wouldn't want to hold a world record?
Who wouldn't want to hold a world record?
I think that's something anybody can relate to.
It's such a cool one to like hold a world record for. Sometimes it can be a bit much, you know, especially in the dating scene, because then people think they have a license to like make offhand.
Do people try to kiss you off of that?
Oh, well, first of all, that used to happen very often when I was younger. Before I started identifying as transgender, when I was a guy in the gay dating world, especially out in the club scene, gay men think they can just like touch you and grab you and like kisses on you. If you
they
can
thought you were easy.
If you can think of any sort of come on that can go with being a world record for a longest, you know, kiss holder, I have heard it, you know. Oh, you broke the world record for the longest continuous kiss. Why don't we go and break the world record for the longest continuous? Fill in the blank with your imagination here. You know, so I've heard it all, but you know, there are also people that think it's really cool and understand that there's a lot of physicality and mental exhaustion that went into that. We weren't allowed to talk to other people physically for 32 and a half hours. I was texting people on my phone. Like, imagine not talking for a day and a half.
So you're like,
you know,
like kind of thing. So we're almost out of time, but then, okay, you broke the world record, flash way forward 9 years, and you wrote a science fiction book?
Well, yeah, so my father passed away in 2014, and I had always wanted to write a book. And I wrote a book when I was 12, and he was always one of my biggest fans. And he used to like listen to my stories and stuff, and so I wrote this book for him. I dedicated it to him. And it's about a group of diverse teenagers. I know this poor copy got eaten up on my backpack on the way over here. I don't know what happened. But it's a group of about a group of diverse teenagers with different sexualities, ethnic backgrounds, and they grow up in this complex similar to one I grew up in, and they discover an alternate universe called imagination, where all the things that we come up with that exist, that can't exist in our universe, exist in the counter alternate universe of imagination. And they find this amulet that brings them there, and it's torn apart by 4 dying, fiery phoenixes. And it's up to them to find the amulet from these phoenixes and restore it in order to prevent the universe from collapsing. So, and if that universe collapses, our universe will collapse. So it's just a really cool science fiction adventure, rock and roll history story that also deconstructs 19th century literature and how we were raised on all of this cisgender, viewpoints of the world, and instead, how can we make that a viewpoint that works for everyone, no matter who you love, no matter what your skin tone color is, or what religion you were raised in. I hope it's an adventure story for everyone.
Matty Daley, very progressive, always looking forward to the future.
Thanks.
Looking forward to see what you come up with next. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me on.
Matty,
Yeah.
thank you all for tuning in. Till next time. Oh, that's, you might, don't get any ideas. He's out of the record business.
She now.
She, sorry,
now.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Well, then, so Matt, then it definitely is.
Matt is out of the record business.
Could
I've
Matty?
been going by Matty since the world record.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you look at Matty, maybe she'd be interested in another record. I don't know. Until next time, this is Adam Papagan reminding you that there's a place you can go, and it's your mind. Good night.
So we just sit here and look like we're talking.
Yeah,
through
right.
the credits.
Yeah, we actually are talking.